to go after. We need straight answers. Do we have the ability to destroy whatever is underneath Pickaxe Mountain?
Senator, a lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world can reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military, the most powerful military in the world.
Now, what happens if we come home and end the blockade to the world?
Sir, Iran has the potential to continue to be a threat, and we will need to prepare military
options to do that. Will they toll the strait?
Sir, that's a hypothetical question, and I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, it's not hypothetical. We come home. It's not going to be hypothetical.
2 wars, 1 hearing, and 1 senator demanding straight answers. As the fighting in Ukraine continued and tensions with Iran threatened global energy supplies, Senator John Kennedy challenged Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and General Caine on whether America had a real strategy or was heading toward a much larger conflict. The exchange quickly turned into a series of blunt questions about Russia, Iran, and the risks facing the United States.
In the war between Russia and Ukraine, who do we want to win?
Sir, I want Ukraine to win.
Is Russia America's friend?
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't quite hear your question.
Is Russia America's friend?
I think that depends on your definition of friend. I think it's a complicated relationship. But no, I don't think they're our friends.
Thank you. If we could cut off Russia's cash flow, which depends substantially on its sale of oil, would that help Ukraine win?
So I think militarily, anytime you can restrict resources and cash flows against an adversary,
General, I have
a good
so
thing.
Much respect for you.
Yes, sir.
But I have so little time.
Yes, sir. I'll try to be briefer.
Give me succinct answers.
Yes, sir. It would assist a.
Would help, wouldn't
it? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. If we could stop people, entities, and countries from buying Russia's oil, that would help cut off its cash flow, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
We have a bill to do that, as I'm sure you're aware. We have the votes today to pass it overwhelmingly. I also have enormous respect and admiration for our majority leader, Senator Thune. But I hope everybody on this panel will today contact Senator Thune and ask him to bring that bill to the floor. We should vote on it at a minimum of next week. Some of my colleagues, General, want America to just stop in Iran. End the blockade, bring all of our warriors home. What would be the consequences of that, in your estimation?
Sir, I think termination criteria is always a political decision. However, I assess that Iran will continue to be a challenge moving forward. So we have to be thoughtful about that.
Will they put tolls on the strait?
I don't know, sir. That's a decision that's a hypothetical and will depend on what happens in the future.
It's not hypothetical. We got a blockade to stop them.
We do, sir. That's putting economic pressure on Iran.
I'm not asking you for, I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I know your advice to the president is private, but this is serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. Now, what happens if we come home and end the blockade to the world?
Sir, Iran has the potential to continue to be a threat, and we will need to prepare military
Will they
options to
toll
do
the
that.
strait?
Sir, that's a hypothetical question, and I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, it's not hypothetical. We come home. It's not going to be hypothetical. You know that, General, and I do too. And I appreciate your discretion, but we're down to it. We need some hard answers and some straight talk. What'll happen, Pete?
Senator, I would agree with the chairman, but the likely outcome is they would try to impose their will on the waterways in ways that the world would not like. Call it a toll, call it a fee, call it an exchange, call it control. They would do something that they would try to hold it at issue. Yes, sir.
Would they try to commence development again of a nuclear warhead?
Part of the reason President Trump had to have the courage to do what he did after Midnight Hammer is that they didn't give up their ambitions even though their nuclear sites had been obliterated. So this is a regime hell-bent on nuclear ambitions, and
Guys,
President Trump's been willing to go after them.
We need straight answers. Do we have the ability to destroy whatever is underneath Pickaxe Mountain?
Senator, a lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world can reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military, the most powerful military in the world. It's all about options and trade-offs.
All right. I'm going to take a little extra time because others got it, Madam Chair. I won't abuse it. Secretary, are shrimpers farmers?
Absolutely, yes. There are farmers of the sea.
Are oyster harvesters farmers?
Yes. In this USDA,
Are they
yes.
having to compete with other countries who grow oysters and shrimp in a ditch and shoot them full of antibiotics?
100% yes.
And if you eat too much of that foreign shrimp and oysters, you'll grow an extra ear, won't you?
I'm not sure about that, but I know it is not good. And I also know we import 90% of our
Why aren't we inspecting the shrimp and the oysters from abroad?
Well, it goes much larger than that. Why are we importing so much from abroad, which goes to the president's trade agenda?
I'm in big trouble.
Yes, you are.
Guys, look, we need straight answers now. We're down to it.
This hearing came as Congress was confronting two major national security debates at the same time. Just days after this exchange, bipartisan momentum grew behind a Russia sanctions bill championed by the late Senator Lindsey Graham. Senate leaders said they hoped to bring the legislation to the floor, and the proposal, backed by more than 60 senators, would impose tougher sanctions on Russia and countries purchasing Russian energy, with additional provisions related to Iran. At the same time, lawmakers continued scrutinizing the Trump administration's expanding military campaign against Iran. During the Senate Appropriations Committee hearing, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth disclosed that the conflict had already cost an estimated $37.5 billion, while the administration sought tens of billions of dollars in additional funding. Senators from both parties continued demanding greater clarity about the administration's long-term strategy, the costs of the war, and its objectives in the Middle East. Those developments explain why Senator John Kennedy focused on two separate issues during his questioning: Russia's ability to finance its war in Ukraine, and the strategic consequences of ending U.S. military operations against Iran. Kennedy began by asking General Caine whether restricting Russia's oil revenue would help Ukraine. After receiving confirmation that reducing Russia's financial resources would weaken its military position, Kennedy urged Senate leadership to bring a bipartisan Russia sanctions bill to the floor. His argument was straightforward. If Russia relies heavily on energy exports to fund its military, cutting off those revenues could increase pressure on Moscow without requiring additional American troops. The hearing then shifted to the Middle East. Kennedy questioned what would happen if the United States ended its naval blockade and withdrew military pressure on Iran. He argued that Iran could attempt to reassert control over the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important energy shipping routes, potentially disrupting global commerce and threatening international energy supplies. General Caine declined to speculate on specific future scenarios, explaining that predicting an adversary's actions involved political decisions beyond the military's role. Kennedy repeatedly pressed for a more direct assessment, arguing that Congress needed clear answers rather than hypothetical discussions. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth responded more directly. He agreed that if military pressure were removed, Iran would likely attempt to increase its influence over regional waterways. He also maintained that Iran had not abandoned its nuclear ambitions despite previous military operations, arguing that continued pressure remained necessary to prevent Tehran from rebuilding its capabilities. It is important to distinguish between the factual issues discussed during this hearing and the policy arguments advanced by individual senators. It is a matter of public record that Congress has considered stronger sanctions targeting Russia's energy sector, and that lawmakers continue debating the best way to support Ukraine. Likewise, the administration has requested additional funding for military operations involving Iran, while members of Congress remain divided over the appropriate scope and duration of those operations. The disagreement lies in how those facts should shape future U.S. policy. Viewed in a broader context, this hearing reflected Congress's increasing focus on long-term strategy rather than immediate military operations. Kennedy's questions were less about recent battlefield developments and more about whether the United States had a sustainable plan for countering Russia, containing Iran, protecting global energy markets, and avoiding a wider regional conflict. Those questions remained at the center of congressional oversight after the hearing, as lawmakers continued debating sanctions legislation, supplemental war funding, and the future direction of U.S. foreign policy.